So it's December of 2025.
As you can see behind us.
Let's talk about what happened this year.
Okay, so I kind of want to start by asking what you think were the best things that happened, especially with economic immigration. What were you really happy about this year?
What was I happy about? Well, there were the caregiver program that came up, and the RSIP program and the FSIP as well came out as well. Those were some of the positives. Another thing I really liked is that although refusals are bad, finally, immigration is now coming out with the notes and the reasons for the refusals so that we don't have to go to the federal court to get those reasons as well.
Yeah, it's really nice to have them and to be able to explain to clients what happened on an application. Mm-hmm. Now let's go through the darker parts of the year in terms of economics. What were the most significant things that you didn't like that happened?
Well, this year, I think the government continued on with the trend that they started in the end of 2024, which were to slash the numbers for permanent residents and also for temporary residents for people to come into the country. Pretty significant things that come to the top of my mind are arranged employment points.
Miller's last action before leaving.
Yeah, and that really did a number on the number for express entries for a lot of people. Also, for a lot of people, LMIAs were no longer a way for people to get more points for arranged employment. There were a lot of changes to provincial nominee programs because the federal government had slashed the numbers by 50% for almost all provinces. As such, not very many people were nominated for provincial nominee programs. Flagpoling as well, that occurred sort of start of this year and end of last year, but the flagpoling, when they canceled the flagpoling, the processing times for work permits became very, very, very high. Finally, as well, the criteria for the open spousal work permits, postgrad work permits continued to be tightened and restricted as well. That's on the economic side. Adil, let's talk about some positive on the other streams.
So I think in the other streams, the big positive news story this year was citizenship. We had the Borkovich decision, which basically found the first generation born abroad rule to be unconstitutional. And now we actually have an act which has solidified that. And so it has opened up citizenship for people that have past ancestry to Canada.
And that interim policy was pretty good as well.
Was really good, which we've been doing most of the year. Mm-hmm. One thing that I really liked is for people who had overseas spousal sponsorships, and if their spouses came to Canada, they could now get work permits, which was a major change that had happened. It used to only be for people who did applications in Canada. So that's been really nice for family reunification.
Mm-hmm. And what were some of the not so good things?
So again, parentals tends to be a huge disappointment. We again did not see an opening of the parental draws, and the draw numbers were very, very low. Still very hard to bring your parents to Canada. We got some very shocking numbers when it came to processing times this year. Just about a month ago, IRCC released its estimated processing times for humanitarian compassionate claims. It's talking 8 to 10 years. One that really scares us is the refugee permanent residence times. It's over 10 years now, so we really want to see how that plays out. Those were really, really dark.
Sorry to end on a bad note. The end of the year is almost here. There's some good notes and there's some bad notes. And next year is going to be pretty interesting. So let's talk about next year. What are some of the good things that might happen next year?
So some of the things that we are looking at is, there was an announcement of a PR program for protected persons. We're really looking to see what the government does with that. It would be very nice to have a program that is for those individuals, because there are so many of them in the backlog.
So maybe that processing time where they've announced, 10 years for refugee claimants who've been approved, that might go down because of this program, you're thinking?
Yeah, it could be. Also, it might just be because there's certain countries where you can't get security checks, and that's why they have this 10-year timeline. So maybe it's just a few that are taking really long that are moving that average. So we're really looking to see that.
What about the bad things?
We're very, very, very worried with some of the new legislation that has come around refugees. It unfortunately seems like a shift to the old days or even the American models, where we're very afraid of stripping of the refugee system. In Bill C-12, a particular provision that I'm very worried about is if individuals don't make a refugee claim within 1 year, that they don't have access to the IRB, and they would only get the PRA, which is a written process that has a much higher refusal rate. This is something that I think is a big mistake and one of the most significant stripping of refugee rights that we have seen. So we're really hoping that that doesn't happen. We're also very worried about detention increases. As we've known, immigration detainees have not been allowed in provincial jails for some time, and as a response to that, they've been built in federal facilities. The biggest one in Toronto has been undergoing renovations, and that's about to be finished. So we're very fearful that they're going to start filling that up with immigration detainment is going to become norm again. And then we're really worried about enforcement actions. As we all know, the budget gave a lot of money to CBSA. There is this blowover from the United States around ICE, and we're very worried that CBSA is going to start being very hard-handed about enforcement provisions again. What about on the economic side? What are you worried about for next year?
What am I worried about? Well, the numbers for students and workers are going to be way down. When they're way down, you wonder, well, how are they going to keep those numbers down? I think a lot of it will be an increased rate of refusals. We've already seen an increased rate of refusals with AI. And I think with these numbers down, we're seeing sort of a different kind of consideration by officers for study permits and work permits. We're seeing a very, very high rate of refusals, and I think that will continue in the new year.
Yeah, and with these AI refusals, you don't even know if they're being read anymore, so it's really hard to explain that.
And as a result, I think judicial reviews in courts are going to increase as well. But on the positive side, there are some interesting changes that are coming up. The Ontario government has announced just recently that they are going to revamp their program, and there's going to be some interesting programs that are coming up. For example, there's one for entrepreneurs who've already started their businesses in Ontario, which seems to be very positive, and another one for healthcare, and they're going to revamp the employer specific streams. So it'll be very interesting to see what the new programs are going to be like in the upcoming future.
Especially with the scrapping of the arranged employment points, it would be nice to see the provincial programs kind of give a pathway for older, very skilled workers, those CEOs and high-level management to get permanent residency.
Yes, I think the OIMP, they're doing away with those numbers for express entry base, which really mimicked the demand occupations for express entry anyway that the feds have. And instead, they're really looking, I think, towards those people who already have jobs in Ontario and helping them get permanent residence. We have also heard a lot from officials about how they're thinking about revamping express entry and the startup visa program. I think there will be some interesting changes coming up in the new year about those programs as well. And finally, there is the 33,000 spots for, it looks like a TR to PR program. Now, I think 33,000 spots for 3 million people who are in the country. It's going to be harder to get in to one of those programs than a Taylor Swift concert, but it's something at least.
we always know with new ministers sometimes comes new programs, so hopefully we will see some of that. That is our look back and our look forward into the new year. Please stay tuned, because as these roll out, we will definitely be talking about them in great detail.
It's definitely a roller coaster with immigration, but we're here. You can hold on to our hands. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.